absolute, it's the same for all of us, whether I go left, right, doesn't matter. Everybody in the universe is the same now. In special relativity, it's not true because the now depends on the observer. If I walk left or I walk right, I have a different now. There are metaphysical spaces about time, about space. So remember, like Newton think about space and time as containers, while Leibniz, for instance, think about space as relational. Space and time as relational. So it's they have a different paradigm. And nowadays, for instance, in Newtonian theory, the paradigm is that geometry of space and time is Euclidean, while in general relativity is not Euclidean. It's Riemannian. So in this geometry, two parallel lines, so to speak, parallel line can meet at some point. There is another axiom that changes from Euclidean geometry to a different geometry. Geometry in which a triangle, I mean, if you add all the angles, they don't come up to 180. So it's very difficult to imagine, but it's a different conception of the geometry of space, and this is a metaphysical paradigm. It's not something that you can make experiment. You cannot see that space is not Euclidean. There is no way to see it. All possible. Could also have a different conception of what scientific knowledge is. The received view and Popper thought about rationality of science as not dependent on time, culture, and location. They are always, I mean, if there is a good methodology, it's methodology that is good for everyone. And it's good for all sciences. So that's the reason, for instance, there was the conception that physics has a very good methodology because it's very successful science. So the social sciences learn more and more this methodology, and nowadays they use more and more methodology of natural sciences. It wasn't always like that. Social sciences in the past, if you look in the 18th century, the 19th century, beginning of 20th century, they were much more philosophical and much more humanity. Now social sciences are in a different department. So, or at least different, I mean, departments that are not connected. There are more and more use of mathematical methods that were used in physics and used in natural sciences. It's much more mathematical and so on. But according to Kuhn, the canon of rationality depends on the paradigm. So it was rational for Newton and Leibniz to talk about God. Because it's part of the paradigm. You want to understand nature, because God created nature. And he's the master of the laws of nature and everything. So to understand the nature of God, he helps you to understand the nature of space and time. And more generally, the physical nature of the universe. Nowadays, the paradigm is different, so it's not the same rationality. It's not a good explanation to involve God. And the same, the rationality, I mean, before the Renaissance and even the beginning of the Renaissance was that you can look at books, I mean, of the ancient and learn from them. You can do a bit of experiment, but I mean, they say the true things. But nowadays, I mean, there is a different view. I mean, you have to do more experiments. You have to do, I mean, to check and recheck. I mean, you don't just take the authority of past texts. And so that's this. Remember, is the received view. The received view, for instance, says that the sciences give you a superior knowledge because it's critical, because scientists try to falsify the theory, they are not dogmatic, and blah, blah, blah. Who says that all this is not true? That actually science, from the point of view of the CPU, is much more dogmatic, and that scientists largely don't try to falsify the theory or invent new theories. They just work within the theories and try to develop them. They're more like puzzle solving than inventor of new science. So that means that according to Kuhn, if you try to be too smart and to come up with new theories, the best chance is that you will be kicked out, or be marginalized. But if you work within the paradigm and just develop details of the paradigm, you can develop in an ingenious way, but you don't try to go against it, then you will be successful.
So how do you know that what exactly is the paradigm? Since it's not written down, like we can say that the theory of relativity is mostly accepted nowadays, but it's not written down anywhere, right? So how can we assume that we can that some science is okay and some is not, basically?
Yeah, we need historians of science, we need philosophers of science, we need sociologists of science to look, and to do studies and to see, what is how scientists behave, what they believe, how they are educated, how the textbooks are, and so on. That's the way, there's no other way. Because a lot of this is not articulate. So it's much less romantic and open-minded. The scientist is not a genius, that invent everything. The scientist is not on his or her own, like the view that is more scientific knowledge is not a personal matter of one scientist. Even Einstein, a genius, is not alone. There are a lot of people around him who actually develop things. So science is more like a community. And scientific knowledge is a community knows, not a person. And it's much more bounded by what the community dictates in terms of paradigms and in terms of what is fine to do and what is not fine. So it's like, this. The scientists know that there is a solution, they believe that there is a solution, it's just difficult to find, and they try to find it, and if they're ingenious, they find the puzzle. It's like, either the Hungarian cube or any other puzzle, but it's not trying to invent new theories or to falsify, the theories that they have. The evolution of science is not linear, like the received view. There are evolution, and after the evolution, there is no linearity of what happens before the evolution. So, things change a lot. They change in terms of the content of the science, they change in terms of the methodology. So evolution is a kind of abrupt interruption to the linearity. And the thing is that the revolution are not determined by rational debates. Evolution are more like determined by, we will see why not, but not rational debates. They just happen. You can think about political revolution. Actually, who talks about political revolution? They are relatively abrupt, and after the revolution, there is a new history. If you read 1984, and after the revolution, you just rewrite the history. You change all the textbooks. You say they were old. But basically, what you do, you rewrite. So Newton theory becomes something else. Newton theory that you study is not Newton theory that was before. It's Newton theory according to the new paradigm of relativity. It's actually, arranged in a way that there will be an illusion of linearity. You say, well, Newton theory, general relativity or special relativity are very close to Newton theory. They're just different in high velocities. Low velocity is basically the same. But it's a cheating. It's not true because the paradigm of Newton theory is very different from the paradigm of relativity. The paradigm of relativity, there is no absolute now. General relativity, the geometry of space is very different. There are a lot of very essential differences. There is no force of gravity. These are very, very significant changes, but they are not talked about. There is, they attempt to show that it's just a more precise theory, just more sophisticated, but it's accumulation in some sense. So Kuhn says this is just all rewriting of the history. You don't have a serious history in textbooks. You just have in the introduction, some kind of lip service in which you have a sketch of history of science in 3-4 pages. You cannot trust it at all. It's for, it's for the indoctrination, for education. And that's what you learn. You learn not to ask more questions, you just learn it in such a way. And if you don't become a historian of science or philosopher of science later on, or have some crisis, midlife crisis in which you want to study something else, you never actually ask a question about it. And you accept it. The issue, there is a kind of irrationality to science because during the revolution, it's not rational decision where to go, how science will develop, because during the revolution is after crisis when there are competing paradigms, and each paradigm has a different rationality. So they don't speak the same language in some sense. They have different rationality, they cannot agree about the basics of the debates. They can try to persuade each other in sociological ways, to make the theory look more attractive, to give some other incentive to come to our paradigm rather than to another. It's a better school, Harvard versus something else. But it's not a rational debate because there is no agreement of the criteria of what is rational or not, because there are competing schools that have different way to look at the world and different way to be rational. Think about Newton and Leibniz and the new conception of doing science. So they think that God is important, the other think that is not important. There is no common ground to argue. Of course, once the revolution wins, once the one paradigm wins after the revolution, the other one is considered, irrational. Or kind of not that sophisticated. So usually when people would think about Newton, they would think, Newton, he was a great scientist, great physicist, but he had this quirky part, in which he looked at, religion, and he was alchemist. Just leave it, that's kind of, nobody is perfect. But according to Kuhn, that's not the case. It's just that there are two different kinds of rationality that are kind of competing, and there is no neutral ground to decide who is right. So it means that when we look at the past as less sophisticated, less good, probably would happen to us, that the future will look at us. And according to Kuhn, this is just a kind of, this is the way each paradigm portrayed the previous one. It's not really the way it is, and it's not necessarily, it's just the way the history is reconstructed, because winners always reconstruct their history according to their interest. We always read the history of the winners. So that's the same in science. So each revolution come up, it's not that our science is absolutely more rational than, the science of antiquity or the Renaissance. It's just different rationality. Of course, from our point of view, it's better. But in the future, other people would come and would say that the same about ours. You recognize who's the revolutionary? Einstein? And he's dressed like who? Gaddafi. Would be happy. Huh? Okay. Now the nature of explanation and justification, again, they change with each revolution. So how to explain in science and how to justify depends on the paradigm, the ruling paradigm. And when there is a paradigm shift, the standard of explanation and justification, and in general doing science, have been changed. Sometimes the change is radical. Who said at some point that living in a new paradigm is like living in a different world, a different universe, in some sense. There is incommensurability between paradigms. They like come past each other, in a sense. So there is no debate, and rationality is only within a paradigm. Between paradigms, I mean, it's in a sense, it's not a rational debate because it's not that people are talking nonsense. They just have different criteria for what is rational and what is good and what is bad, science and so on. Okay, so let's have a break for 5 minutes and then we still have some to do.